Michelle G Show. I am super excited about being back in the studio. If you guys can remember, and I'm sure you do, I've been filming for almost a year now and from home. This is my first time back in the studio, and I'm super excited. And my first show coming back in the studio, I could not be more excited about my guest. We're going to bring her on in a few minutes. We have joining us today Miss Amber Jenkins, but we're going to bring her on in a few minutes. But I'm just super excited to be back with you guys in the studio. Traveling today, I got to the studio late. I went and had lunch, and got sidetracked. But you guys know how I am. I kind of get sidetracked and have to get put back in line. And luckily I had my right hand, left hand, and sometimes my brain, Darshawn, with me today, because otherwise I would have not made it here. So we're going to take a quick break in just a second, and we're going to come back with our guest. But before we go and break for our guest, I just want to say our guest today, she has and wears many hats. Okay, when I tell you I'm excited to have her on stage with me today, she is, and I'm just going to read a few things about her. I'm not going to go through her complete bio because I want her to talk about herself. She is originally from Cleveland, Ohio, a native of Cleveland, Ohio. She now resides here in Georgia. She is the founder of Creative Mission, and the mission statement for this whole organization is, it just touched me, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. We're going to talk about what creative means. She is a best-selling author. She's a poet. She's a DJ, a motivational speaker, and this is what got me. She is a master barber. So we're going to really dive into that. She has her own clothing line, you guys, which she is wearing today. So when she comes on stage, when we come back from the break, I want you guys to check out what she's wearing, because that's her own clothing line. You guys, I am so excited about talking to this young lady, and because she's doing so much. And not only, for herself, but she's doing it to inspire and motivate others. And that's what it's all about. So we're going to take a real quick break. And when we come back, we'll be right back with Amber Jenkins joining me on the Michelle G Show. Welcome back to the Michelle G Show. And I have joining me, you see I have my guest, Miss Amber Jenkins. And we're going to dive right into it. You know how I like to do. I just want the conversation just to flow. So we're going to just go ahead and jump right into it. Welcome to the show, Amber.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, now, we know that you are the founder of Creative Mission. Okay. Now, when I read the mission for that, it really got I love what it said. The mission is you must step out on faith to have a shot at running your own race.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. Now, I want to begin with how did you come up with, or what inspired you to start Creative Mission?
Actually, I've had a couple brands beforehand. For the last 10 years, I was trying to figure out something to come up with, and I realized everything used to stem from me wanting to do clothes. And I had a couple different ones. It was I started cutting hair, and I was better chopped than screwed. Then it went to cut a creation. So I've always done something with K's. But then 2018, I moved to California, and someone came in the barbershop and had their own clothing line. And I'm like, all right, God, I sat in my chair and I said, all right, well, everything I've tried on my own hasn't worked. So if I want to do this, it needs to say your name. It needs to give you some type of glory, because obviously there's a reason why I keep getting held back from what I'm trying to do. So I sat there and I don't know, creative came, but I said because I needed to have meaning, I sat there until it meant something to me. So not just creative, because like I said, I had cut a creation before. But if I'm dropping the cutting hair, now what am I saying to people? What do I need people to understand from me? And so I sat there until it came, and each word came maybe a couple minutes after the other. And it was kingdom, and then I tried to put things together. What about the kingdom? Kingdom risers. I need kingdom risers from around the world. Engaging ambitious thinkers. I'm trying to engage people to think ambitiously. Influencing versatility everywhere. Don't be stuck with how you feel like somebody else is. Be creative enough to be yourself.
I love it. I love it. And when I read that, and I'm glad you broke each one of them down, because that stood out more than anything to me, I think. The way you broke it down to what it meant. It's not just a name. And the fact that you mentioned that you had to talk to God. Because a lot of times when we do things ourselves, when we do it ourselves, it doesn't work. But I'm grateful that you had the pulling to where you knew, okay, God, I can't see this. And the realization, God, I can't do this without you. In order for this to work, because some of us, and I'm one of those people who have done things and gone in the same circle over and over and over again and could not figure out why it wasn't working. But you figured it out real quickly. Like, this isn't working for me because, God, I need to put you in it.
I don't know if that was real quick. That was 8 years.
I would say that's quick, because you know what? I am now 48 years old, and
Nice.
it was just in my 40s that I realized what I wanted to do.
Really?
It took me that long of going in that same circle. Got degrees in different things. I worked in the special education field, my career for like 12 years, and got, have degrees in that. But it wasn't until I hit my 40s. So 8 years, I would say that's pretty good, because it took me a long time to figure out that this is what God has purposed me to do. So now everything I do has purpose, whether it be my business, whether it be the show, anything I write, anything I provide, it has to serve a purpose, and it has to
Right.
give God glory.
Right.
So he gets the glory. When he gets the glory, it's going to flow.
Right.
It's going to flow. Now tell us a little bit about your clothing brand. What is the meaning? It looks comfortable. I like comfortable.
Yeah, so I wanted it to be unisex. Everything that I've done, I've always been different. And that's actually, and I know we'll get into this, but that's actually the title of my first book, Born to Be Different. The path meant for a man taken by a woman, because a lot of things that I do was meant in the eyes of others for a man. Mm-hmm. And I wanted everything to be unisex. I don't like having to sit like, girl, I don't like having to do all that all the time. It's a time and a place for everything. And if I'm dressed as beautiful as you, then yes, I'm going to sit. But if I want to just chill and I want to be me and comfortable, then I need you to respect how I'm coming today. So the unisex is what I felt like. It's a lot of people that's out there that's like me, and you don't want to turn up all the time. You don't want to be on 10 and 100 all the time. Like, I don't want to be like that 50% of the time.
I agree.
So everything that I have is more is fitting for women. It's actually fitting for men as well, but it's more joggers and hoodies, and I want to get more into the luxury of it, but right now it's more joggers and hoodies and like long sleeve shirts, things like that, but everything says something on it. So like on the sleeve of everything, it says creative, and it says one who goes outside their comfort zone to inspire and encourage others to live their dreams.
I love it. I love it. And you know what I love really about that and your ideal of that is because, honestly, thank you for the compliment, but normally 9 times out of 10, I'm in jeans and a t-shirt because that's what I prefer.
Right.
You know, I'm not really a makeup person, but I do it because this is who, you know what I mean? This is what I do.
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, and me even being in ministry, because I am an elder, but if I could stand in the pulpit and flat with no shoes, barefoot, then I would. But I can't because of protocol. But I understand, because I would rather not be in the 4-inch heels and the, you know, and the brooches and all of that. That's not me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Even with me having locks, it's not your typical elder.
Right.
But this is me.
Different.
God didn't call my hair. He called me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I understand and I love it. I love it. Now going from that, what you said earlier, and I did read that when I went to your website and everything, and I loved it. And I don't want to misquote what you said. It was what you were saying about how people see things that were normally men would do. How did you put that quote?
I have absolutely no idea.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the reason she's saying that is because she is not only an author, she is a poet and a DJ. So we're going to talk about the DJ piece of it. Okay. So how did you get into DJing?
Honestly, I've always kind of been into music. Not always, kind of. I've always been into music. My family will probably tell you they thought I was going to be a choreographer. I would learn dances so quick when I was younger. And then as I got older, that kind of just stopped. But I've always had an ear for music. So one of my ex, actually, I found out he was a DJ probably in our first couple months of dating. And it just, actually the first month, it blew my mind because he was using the vinyl. He would find the vinyl. He would go to the crates and find vinyl. And for him to be so kind of quiet, it blew me that he actually was very good at this. And I remember my family asked him about DJing our family reunion in 2010. And he got somebody's DJ equipment, and I had it set up in my apartment. And I sat there with him for a minute, and he's like, "You're catching on to this way quicker than any of these guys that I've ever tried to show this." And I'm like, well, it's not. I mean, it seems simple in what you're doing, but I never looked at it again. It wasn't until 2014, one of my cousins was getting married, and we went to the bachelorette party, and it was in a club or something like that. And it wasn't that many people in there, but the DJ was horrible. Like, he was horrible. And we were in Atlanta, of course, and I was just like, yo, if he's getting paid for this, I can do this in my sleep. And I remember saying it several times throughout the time that we were there. And anybody who knows me, if I say that I'm going to do something, or if I mention something more than twice, it's already done. I just got to figure out how to do it. So I was like, all right, well, I sat on it for a little bit more. By that January, I went to a DJ class at like Sam Ash or something like that. I went just to see what they were talking about. Ended up getting equipment from like Craigslist. I got like some, I don't know, starter kit that somebody was selling in a box. You know, got a computer off of Craigslist. I just said a couple $100. I don't really have a lot, but a couple $100. Let's see what I can make work. And I sat there and I taught myself how to do it. And I went back to Sam Ash. They would have these little DJ courses really quickly on the Saturdays. I went to about 3 times. Once I hear or see something done, I can figure out how to do it. So I went back and I started saying that. So I always tell people I'm what I want to be before it happens. I don't know why. I don't know where that came up.
I love that.
But I always say, like, so when I started getting my equipment, I just used to say, oh yeah, I'm a DJ. So I would try to come up with a name. I came up with DJ A Cuts with the K. Of course, everything I do is with the K. So me cutting hair was like a big deal. Like, okay, cuts, A Cuts. Oh, she cuts on the DJ. Like everything, you know. It was it fit. So I got the equipment in January. By May of that year, I'd gotten a call from someone randomly that's like, hey, you want to DJ this birthday party. It's for L.A. Reid's son.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, okay, yeah. So ended up doing a party. Mind you, I've never done this in front of like a lot of people. I've called people to my house like, hey,
Come watch
hear
me,
me,
DJ.
But yeah, I don't even think I'd gotten any better equipment by then. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But doing that party was amazing because the feedback was great. But by that December, a lot transpired by that December, and I ended up in a studio with Coalition DJs from Atlanta.
Wow.
A lot happened, but it was an extension from me cutting hair. I was in the same building as them, and I ended up going into their studio, and I talked to their manager, and he's like, yeah, well, tell everybody who you are. They had these Mondays where people found out who you were. Told everybody who I was. Just so happened one of the girls, and it was only maybe one or two girls in there, as I was in the middle of talking, she stopped and she said, did you DJ Antonio Reed's party? And I was like, yeah. She said, that was good. I like that. I loved what you did. And everybody's looking at me like, we've never heard of her before. Like, you did L.A. Reid's son's party. She's validating you, and we've never heard of you, and I just started. Wow. So for that to happen, it was like it shot out. That next year, I had a mixtape come out. I had, I was going everywhere in different lounges and everything like that.
I think a lot of that has to do with like your mindset, because even when you talking, you say how you are something before you actually become something.
Exactly.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. We're going to get more into that. We're going to get into I want you to talk more about your book and tell the audience about your book, because I think that's very interesting. And we're going to talk about the barber, being a barber, because that's another field that mostly is, dominated by men, but you're slaying in it. So we're going to talk about that when we come. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the Michelle G Show. Michelle G Show. I'm joined today by my guest, Miss Amber Jenkins. We have had a wonderful off-camera conversation that I'm not going to bring on camera. I was talking to her about what she said before we went on break about she knows she's something before she is something. And I was telling her how that motivated me. And it motivated me because I'm one of those people, and you guys know I'm transparent. I'm one of those people who have to have a thousand confirmations just to do what I know I'm supposed to be doing. And for her to be as young as she is and doing the things that she's doing, and how she can call and speak those things that are not as though they were. And that really did motivate me. And I'm glad you said that. And I think, I'm sure there's a lot that you've said so far, but I know if I don't take anything else from that, I know that I'm going to take with me. And for that, I appreciate.
That's amazing.
I appreciate you being you. I appreciate, and I do this often, I appreciate you coming on the Michelle G Show. I count it an honor and a privilege because I can say I knew her. And I count it an honor that you can come and you are bold enough to be your authentic you.
Yes.
And I say that because for me, it took years to be my authentic me. And I love that you know who you are. You stand on it. You don't let nobody tell you any different. So I appreciate you in all your uniqueness, in all your creativeness, all your beauty, your talent. I appreciate you. And I'm honored to have you on the Michelle G Show.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you.
And
Pleasure is mine.
going from that, let's talk about, before we talk about the barber,
Okay.
let's talk about this book that you wrote.
Okay.
What inspired you? First, give us the title, and what inspired you? What was the basis of the book?
Okay, so when I came up with the creative mission, I came up with it January 2018, but I didn't move on it until January 2019. A lot happened in 2018, and by the end of 2018, November 1st, I couldn't get in touch with anybody. I was in California by myself. I tried calling people, I tried texting people. I couldn't get in touch with anybody. Nobody was answering their phone. And I felt like I was just clouded. Like, I didn't have anybody to talk to. I needed to get things out. And I'm like, but I don't know what I need to get out. I just don't know what to do at this point. I had to leave the shop. It was like, I don't know, God always moves me when he needs me to stretch. So it was a lot that happens. That happened in that time frame of like 2 months, where I had to leave the shop. The people that were staying with me up and left and didn't give me the money for the rent for the month. And it was a lot going on that I'm like, how am I going to fix this? And I said, God, if you can just handle this for me for however long I'm going to need it. If you just handle this part for me where I don't have to think about it, I'll do whatever you need me to do. And in that moment, I had somebody call me, and he's like, just write. Now, this particular person didn't know that I've written before. I used to write poems, but I've only written 2 poems over my life before 2018 that were really deep. They were, one, when I stopped playing basketball when I was in high school. I got cut from the team for something that wasn't my fault. And then I lost a baby in 2008. And they said that they were going to send me to the psych ward, or not the ward, but the psychiatrist or something like that if I didn't get it together. I wrote a poem and I was fine, but everybody else had the, like, oh my God. So I knew that my words would hit people, but I didn't know until 2020 how deeply they would hit people. So, or now I'll even say 2019, when I started writing that day, November 1st, 2018, when I started writing that day, I wrote 3 poems in less than 20 minutes. And he's like, you wrote all those, like, right now? And I'm like, yeah, it's only taken me like 10 minutes to write. And he said, you wrote that in 10 minutes. And I'm like, yeah. And so I started doing it more and more. I wrote about almost 100 poems in 2 months. And it was one that really just kind of, I was on the phone with my friend, and we were talking about a situation about rape. She said she knew someone. I said I knew people. And I got off the phone and I wrote a poem. But the thing about my poems, I write as if I'm that person. So I pull it together from different people of how they might be feeling. I'm an empath, so I can feel whatever it is in that moment that you may be feeling. And the poem is called Taken. So I felt like it was God saying, like, no, it needs to be a visual. And a lot of people always tell me, slow down, you can do this later, or you can do that. If I feel it, it has to go right now. I don't know why, but it has to go right now. So I figured out how to make animations. And I made animations to the poems that I had written, the most recent ones. And that Taken poem was so big, one of my aunts called me, and I hadn't talked to her on the phone in years. She called me and stayed on the phone for like an hour. She's like a social worker or something in Cleveland, and she's like, so many people can use this poem. And it was really talking about a girl that got raped and took her virginity from it, and then the things that she had to deal with from there. So I had clients calling me like, who do we need to get? And I'm like, it never happened to me. But because of how I write, you would think certain things happen to me. So the poems came, I didn't even realize the book was actually coming. And I felt God say, like, well, I know you want the clothes, but I need you to do this first. And so I started writing the book. And the Born to Be Different, I sat with somebody and we came up with that one. Born to Be Different, and then I said it needed a subtitle, and I sat with it. I said the path meant for a man taken by a woman. It goes over, this is part 1 that I released May 2020. It goes over the early part of my life and how I had different situations with my dad, and how I didn't grow up in the same house as him for most of my years. And just how certain things just weren't the same, and the things that I dealt with, even with having the kid early, and losing it, and figuring out by the end of the book that the generational curses are real, because what happened to bring me in the world happened to take my kid out. So it was pretty heavy to let that go. And honestly, everybody's like, after the fact, they're like, oh man, so good, you have this book out. And I'm like, I'm cool, like it's on to the next thing. They're like, even the publisher at the time, she's like, why aren't you more excited? And I'm like, because everything that needed to heal healed during my process.
Wow. Oh, that's powerful in itself. And I'm sitting here trying to compose myself, because I honestly, when I'm talking to you, it's like talking to, I'm disregarding your age. It's like talking to someone like an old soul who has so much wisdom. Because, and I keep referring to people, my generation, my age, there are people who don't even understand the impact of generational curses even now. And you realize that. And you realize that that was what was going on. And being able to express yourself in the way that you needed to express yourself and to heal in that process. And it's amazing to me how you take everything that God has given you, you do it, and then you go on to the next thing. Like most people will still be basking in, oh yeah, I did, I got this and I got that done. But you're like, okay, it's on to the next. Right. I did this because you knew that was it was purpose for you. Right. And when you said that God said, I need you to write this, it was so that you can be healed. So that you can be healed. And it's amazing that you see, it's like talking with an old soul.
That's amazing.
It's like talking with the old soul, the wisdom that you have now at your age, that some people don't even have at my age.
That's amazing. That, well, I guess the reason why I couldn't hold on to it, I didn't know, but it dropped May 2020. By October 2020, I wrote 23 poems. And I just sat with it. Like I said, I can write them quick, but I asked God, like, listen, whatever doesn't need to be said, like, don't allow it to come. But if it's something that needs to be said, like, bring it to me. So I always call it a digital download. Basically, he gives me whatever needs to be said to somebody. And maybe not me in that moment, but it's for somebody. Whenever I'm writing it, it's for somebody. So I came out with a poem book called Listen to Your Heart. And I released it November 23rd, and it wasn't enough. Like I said, the same when I started writing the poems and I did the animations, that poem book wasn't enough. So I figured out how to record, mix, and master audio, and I got beats from producers. And I recorded the poems over beats. So I have a 23-track album that's out on all platforms right now, all streaming platforms, of the book, of the Listen to Your Heart book. And it's an app called Clubhouse. I don't know if you know about Clubhouse.
Yes, I just joined that, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it took me a while to join. I'm not really like a tech person.
Right.
But I heard about it. I said, okay, you know what? Let me join this because I think I'm going to be needing this in the future from where I'm going. So I just joined it like last week. Hadn't figured out how to really operate it, but I'm working on that. Hopefully I'll have that in the next week because I'm going to play with it a little bit, figure out how to get everything on there. But yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so my business coach actually, is like, she inspired me to do a room. And I opened up a room and just called it Listen to Your Heart, and with music. But what came out of it, there's no words that can describe. I think after the first room, I told her, she was asking me how it felt, and I said it's literally like I felt angels dancing around me, like I came into what they knew was coming. And it's crazy.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it happens. Trust me.
Yeah.
I'm very transparent on here. I cry. My guests sometimes cry. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay because that's what this is all about. That's what the Michelle G Show is all about. That's what it was built for and created for, I should say. It's the platform that that's why you see, you notice I haven't really used these because I'd rather have God come in and have his way. So however it flows, it flows. And I knew, even though I was nervous coming in, and I was like, okay, I don't have any questions down for, and I wrote the stuff down literally a few minutes ago before I got over here in the other room. And although it may look disorganized for other people, but that's just how I work. That's just how I flow. And I wrote it down, just key things. I may have glanced at this maybe once or twice, but I knew that once I got on here, whatever God needed to be said was either going to come through me or you, but it was going to be said because this is his platform. So, and I'm grateful that I have a guest here today and that has an ear to hear, a heart to receive, and the strength to be obedient.
That's powerful.
Because it takes a lot to be obedient.
That's powerful.
I struggle with obedience because sometimes it's usually not what I want to do, but I know it's what I have to do because it's not for me. It's never about me.
Yeah.
It's always about someone else and what you're doing, and I'm grateful for it. And trust me, when I get off this show, I'm looking up books. I'm looking up to go buy, because I need to read this, because it can be used to help so many people. But I'm a stalk you, pretty much. I was because you have something that is going to be so helpful, and the way you present it is so unique. I know what it's like not to, sacrifice, being obedient, but you do it so easily.
That's what it, like you just said, to other people it seems organized, and that's how I feel. People are like, how are you coming up with this stuff? How are you doing this stuff? I'm like, if y'all see me like trying to figure this stuff out, it's serious, trying to figure this stuff out. But then when I have those rooms and I listen to people and listen to them like they're journaling, people are reciting the word, the lines back to me, and I'm like, I wrote that? Like, it's amazing. It's mind-blowing. But like I said, it's a digital download. So whatever he gives me goes straight to paper. And I don't even think about it after that. Honestly, this is the most I've heard my own poems. And that's because I did it on an album. I'm a music head. So me with music, that's how I learn best. And listening to my own album is like I'm learning the words. I'm learning everything else. I'm listening to it somewhat like everybody else is. But just hearing people's experiences from these poems, it was one I wrote about, I don't know, it said something about green pastures and water. And I was literally writing what I saw in front of me. I walked through Midtown and I wrote what I saw. It's called Could You Spare a Penny for My Thoughts? And the poem in itself is a nice poem, but that particular line, I didn't think anything of it because I'm just writing what I see. My coach actually was on that call on the Clubhouse, and she brought up a Bible scripture or something. She's like, it's the living water and the green, like how she said it. I'm like, what? How did you get that from what I said? Like, how did that? I never put that together, but how she saw it was biblical. And I just saw what I saw. I wrote down what I saw. So he uses me. That's why I said it's a digital download. I've been asking to be a vessel for at least 5 to 10 years. So I know what my purpose is here. I just got to figure out how to navigate it.
Oh wow. I'm gonna take a break. I don't want to take a break, but I'm gonna take a quick break just so I can gather up my thoughts because this is so it's so good. I can sit here and talk. When I grow up, I want to be like you. Seriously, when I grow up, I want to be like you, like for real, for real. I'm gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, I do want to touch on this. I want to touch on. It goes more into what you're saying, the things that you do. Have you had any battles as being a woman in the fields and the areas that we're gonna touch on that. I'm gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the Michelle G Show. Welcome back to the Michelle G Show. We're just going to continue this wonderful conversation. If you guys can't tell, Amber Jenkins is someone you need to know. You need to follow. You need to go listen to her music, buy her books, sport her gear. You need to do all that and then some. I'm going to jump in to finish this conversation with her. And I want to talk about, and we just said this just before the break, being in the fields and the areas that you were in, like DJing, being a barber, and that type of thing. Do you find that you've had a lot of negative, maybe not now, but like in the beginning, or do you still have negative feedback, or have you had battles being a woman in these areas?
Every area. I definitely will say, and it's not just DJing or just barbering, clothing. Dealing with overseas, like still lost so much money last year just because they put me to the side when men wanted something done. So it's been every area. Literally, I found so much where you almost have to have a man on your team because you're not going to be respected in a certain way. With barbering, it started first because I've been cutting hair since 2008, 2007, something like that. And that was a process. I mean, coming up, that was a process. I tried literally everything you could think of to get my name out there. I didn't even know. It's funny that you don't realize who is looking at you until later on in life. I didn't find out until I had moved to Cali and I came back periodically to cut some people that it was a girl that was in the same shop that I was in at the time when I came back to cut for a weekend. And she and I had met before, but when she found out my barber name, which is Miss Taper, when she found out that was my barber name, she's like, wait, are you the Miss Taper that was on Camp Creek? And I was like, yeah, how'd you know that? And she was like, when I went in that shop, they said I had big shoes to fill because they mentioned something that I did when I first got there, which is I couldn't figure out how to get clients. If I look any young to, like I'll be 35 next month.
Oh, wow.
So if I look young to you now as a 21-year-old in a barbershop, I look like a kid. So, or 25 at the time, in a barbershop, I looked like a kid. So the respect was just not there. So I figured out I would do some type of marketing. I made poster boards. I put holes in them. I did like this whole arts and craft thing. And I went back to the shop the next day and I put it around my body and I walked through Camp Creek. And I just walked through the streets, walked through everywhere I can, both plazas. Like either you gonna see me and you gonna know my face, or you gonna see this board and you gonna ask me what it says on there, or you gonna see my number and you gonna come get a cut. But either way, you gonna see me. Wow. And so I did that for like a day or two until it tore pretty much off of me. But they were talking about me, so I never even thought anything about it until it's almost 10 years later. This girl says that this was recent. That was a couple months before that it happened. And she's like, "You're a legend over there." And I was like, "What?" So to me, I don't, when I do things, it's like I almost don't think about it. It's like it's supposed to be done. But I don't think about how that's going to affect or look to anybody. It's just, it needs to be done. But just hearing her say that, like, "You're a legend over there," that hit me in a different way. Because I said, I didn't even think anybody was paying attention. You never know who's watching.
You never know who's watching. And what surprised, so being that, like you said, it's almost like you have to have a man on your team in order for you to, get anything accomplished, because it's like they overlook you or they don't take you seriously. With that in mind, okay, I know you've had to battle that part, but what are some of the strategies? What is it that you do in order to cope with it? Have you just gotten men on your team, or you just say, "You know what? I don't have to have that. I'm gonna prove that I can do this without having
I really did the grit. Like, I really just made it work. However I could, I just got better and better. And I was never bad. I think that's what helped me. I was never actually bad. I didn't give myself the name Miss Taper. My barber class gave that to me from doing lineups. So I was never bad, but I just knew that, like I say in my book, if when I was playing basketball, even as a kid, even as an 8-year-old kid playing on a rec team, I knew that and I was the only girl. I was the tallest at 8 years old, because girls grow faster. But I knew that if I missed a shot, I was gonna look 10 times worse. Oh, that's a girl. Oh, it's whatever. If I did the wrong thing, if I ran the wrong play, if I did anything like that, I'm gonna look bad because I'm a girl doing this with guys. So every time I showed up, and I think basketball definitely helped me, I always felt more comfortable playing with guys because that's how I grew up. So I think it helped me because stepping on that court, I knew that I was going to make you respect me by the time I got off. So I went like that in everything in my life. You may not want me to be here, but you're going to respect that I can be here.
Wow. I love it. I love it. I absolutely. You are really, and to the age thing, you do not look like you're in your 30s. You look like I thought you was in your early 20s. That's a good quote. And
I was gonna say I need to fix. God, thank you, because somebody sent me that quote.
Yeah, the producer got it. Yeah, she got it. You got it. We love good quotes over here. And I'll be honest with you, if I get a good one, I'll be like, I'll give you the credit the first time, but after that, I'm just saying it.
Right.
I'm just saying this is strictly me. I'm saying, but I will give you the credit the first time.
The first time.
What I think I love about this the most is because a lot of people don't understand when they have a creative mind. Creatives are totally different than other people. The way they think, the way they process, the way they work, the way they function. They're totally different. Is there anything that you can advise someone who may be, that may have a creative mind but have not figured out how to function with it? Because you just flow with everything. You just really flow. I know there's a process that everybody don't see on the outside, but when you present it, it's done. You know what I mean? So someone who, like I said, they have a creative mind, but they don't understand how to function and how to use it, because creatives are totally different.
Right.
I think.
Right.
Even like even their process and their thinking, they're totally different. Is there something that you can say that would motivate them, or how they can kind of settle it in?
There's something in my belly right now, so I'm figuring this is what I need to say. Knowing who you are. Once you're okay with being authentically who you are, who you think you were created to be, who you feel you were created to be, who you know in your heart that you are, without somebody telling you what you are, because that's the biggest thing. As a creative, you have to know who you are without somebody telling you that that's who you are. You could tell me I'm a great speaker, you could tell me that I'm a great writer, you could tell me that I'm a great whatever, but if I don't believe it, and I don't know it in myself, then it's not gonna come across the same way. So that's pretty much what I would say. Figure out who you are, figure out what your passion is, and go for that without any holdback.
Without any holdback. We're going to take a break in just a minute, but when we come back, it'll be almost time, close to ending the show. I can't believe it because an hour goes by so fast. And it's shows like this that make me not want them to go so fast. Because I have enjoyed and loved talking to you. And I will leave here today that much better a person, a thinker, a processor, a doer. Because I've met you from being in your presence. It has motivated me that much, if that makes sense, because just you being who you are has motivated me that much that I'm gonna leave here better and more motivated to say, you know what, when God tells me, I'm not saying I won't say, God, can you confirm it at least one time,
Right.
and then I won't ask for 3,000 confirmations,
Right.
but I'll be like, okay, and do it. You know what I mean? Because you don't hesitate. When you hear him and you see, and you know he downloaded it to you, you move. You know it has to be done. And once it's done, you okay, God, what's next?
Right.
And the fact that you said something earlier, I tell God what needs to be said, let it be said. What doesn't, don't let it be said. And you go on with that. That is amazing because there's so many people who can't and don't do that. So I'm going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to finish up. Miss Amber is going to tell us about her clothing line, books, everything, where you can find her, where you can follow her. We're going to give her a moment to give you guys some inspirational words, and we're going to end the show. So we'll be right back with the Michelle G Show. Thank you, and welcome back to the Michelle G Show. We're coming to the end of the show. This part usually saddens me, but today is saddening me. I'm like really sad because I don't want to end the show because I have enjoyed thoroughly this young woman. I'm at a loss of words, and that's very seldom for me because I can talk like all day. But we're going to close the show out, but we're going to give Miss Amber a chance to tell you about her brand, tell you where you can find her stuff, where you can follow her, where you can listen to her music, if you want to book her for something. And we're going to let her give her about 2 minutes to give you guys some inspirational words to take with you. Amber?
Okay, well, once again, I'm Amber Jenkins. Everything that I have is Creative Mission, so creative with the K. And creativemission.org is my website, Creative Mission. Clothing.myshopify.com. You can find the clothes at Creative Mission Clothing on Instagram and Facebook, I believe, and at Creative Mission _org, which I also do IG Lives for authors and bloggers and people that are writers on Mondays and Wednesdays. I also have a podcast called Cuts and Conversations, again with the K. Cuts and Conversations is Cuts, Kutz, and Conversations, and that's on YouTube. It's also on podcasts, all streaming podcasts. That'll be out, which is where I cut hair and talk to clients about their journeys as a creative. So that's also out right now, and that's pretty much what I have.
Okay. Anything you want to say to inspire anyone who may be listening today?
The best thing I could say is, like I said before, until you know yourself, you'll never be comfortable with being yourself in front of somebody else. So get to know yourself. That's the best thing I've done. That's the best value I've given myself in this world. The best value I've given myself is really knowing who I am and being able to give people what I was meant to give them, because everyone is created to give something to this world. You just got to find out what really tugs at your heart and what really inspires you to move on your passion. And once you figure that out, being a creative is easy. You just got to be comfortable with taking the journey.
Thank you. And thank you guys for joining me today. Whew, this has been very filling for me. I have had a great show back, being back in the studio. To start the year off, 2021, this has been a great show, and I'm grateful. Thank you. I will be in touch. Maybe we can do some other things. We can collab on some things, or maybe you can come back later on in the year. We can do some other things, but we'll talk. Baggage claim. This is the moment that I do a baggage claim moment, and I usually pull something from my little box. But today, I don't know, I've held these the whole show, but don't really need them. But today, I think the baggage claim is, we're going to be talking, I'm just going to talk briefly about giving you something encouraging for 2021. We had a rough 2020, some of us did. But what we found out in 2020 is that was a time that was set aside, that if you took the time to get quiet, to listen to God, to pray, to seek Him, get guidance, that you're ready for 2021. No matter what it holds, no matter what's coming forward, no matter what you got to look forward to in 2021, you'll be ready for it. Why? Because you took the time that God shut the world down so that we can hear Him. And if you took the time and used it wisely and let go of, and you can take this as a baggage claim, if you took the time to drop the weight of the jealousy, drop the weight of the hurt, drop the weight of the confusion, drop the weight of not knowing who you are, drop the weight of battling with should I do or should I not do. If you took that time in 2020 to drop all those things, that bad relationship, if you took the time to seek God and to heal, God not only was trying to get us to listen, He was ready to heal. Not just to heal the mind, the body, and the soul. You just had to be ready and prepared to listen. So if you took that time in 2020, where we thought we were just stuck in the house and nothing to do, that time was set aside for us. God was giving us time to get ready. And as our bishop has been teaching us for the since 2020, God's getting ready to do something great for His people. We just got to be ready. The door, and I've said this before, the doors that God has for you are already open. You just got to get there. So if you took the time, take this as your baggage claim. If you took the time in 2020 to drop the weight of all those things you were carrying, no matter what it was, seek God, then you should be up and ready to run. But if you're not, it's never too late. Take that time now. Take that time to seek God. Get quiet. Pray. Get in His Word. He's talking. He's always talking. We're just not always listening. Listen to Him. See what it is that He wants for you to do in 2021. You don't want to miss this move of God, because I believe that 2021 is for the saints, the believers. God has got something in store for us, but we got to be ready. We got to be ready. So as your baggage claim, if you're not ready, get ready. Get ready and stay ready. We can't always come in every year. It's like, I'm going to get ready, I'm going to get ready. Get ready and stay ready. And be prepared for what God has for you. That's the baggage claim for this show. I'm super excited. I was supposed to have a second show, but unfortunately there was some personal things going on with my second guest. Some family things, and we understand, because you know how I am. Family comes first. So I know that I'll have her on the show later on in the year, maybe even next month, but family comes first. So there's no sad story about that. We just got the one show, but I think this one show was almost like two. Because if you didn't take nothing from this, you won't listen. You might need to go back and catch the replay, because she gave some real good nuggets. she had me in my preacher zone. And you know how I am when I get there. So thank you guys for joining me for my first show back in the studio with the Michelle G Show. I thank you guys for joining me. And you guys, I'm going to sign off. But remember what I always say. You're not for everybody. Everybody's not going to get with you. And that's okay. Remember, you may not be everyone's cup of tea, but you're definitely someone's special brew. So I'll see you next month in the studio, hopefully barring anything else, corona, whatever going on. I'll see you next month on the Michelle G Show. Bye.